For people that aren't aware of Bitcoin or are starting to wake up, setting an auto buy of £2.10 a day is much easier to just get in the game than to go, I'm going to sell my house and port all of this into Bitcoin. So it's just the small habits. Once you're in the game, you can then start learning more, going down the rabbit holes that you and I have gone down. Yeah, they're trying to push into law now the empty room tax. Who knows how they're going to enforce it? But if you've got, for every empty room you've got in your house, bedroom, you have to pay tax. I think the rent equivalent for what it would be to rent that room out. That's what they're trying to push, which is absolute criminal, in my opinion. A lot of people don't get it at all, but if you start measuring things in Bitcoin, those small sats that you're stacking build up. And I don't think it's too far in the future when we start seeing things turn pretty crazy. If you combine those two things, the world can only get better and better, because people only want to then buy high value things. They're going to want good, high quality material. And what that's going to do for the world, similar to Jeff Booth's book, is AI is deflationary, technology is deflationary. Everything should get cheaper.
Welcome, Cambridge Hodl. How's life in Australia, man?
Hot, man. It's been hot the last few days, but good. That's what we came here for.
You have to change your name to like Gold Coast Hodl now or something.
Yeah, I was thinking that when we were on the flight over here, but I'm going to stick to my roots for the time being, I think.
There you go. Dude, how was it bringing your Bitcoin over from UK to Australia? I mean, you didn't have to worry about anything, right?
In the end, it was a funny story. I was speaking to one of my mentors who actually helped onboard me into the Bitcoin world all that time ago. And he was like, so you've got your Bitcoin secure, haven't you? And I was like, yeah, well, as long as the plane doesn't crash, then I'll be all right. And he was like, well, maybe you should look into multi-sig for your flight in case that does happen. So I ended up setting multi-sig up, but the process of that, while I was transferring funds to the multi-sig wallet, I just did a test transaction of like $5, and 2 minutes later it said minus $10,000 out of my wallet, and I was like, oh. So I ring him. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. The biggest adrenaline rush I've ever had, and he was like, think you've been hacked. Make sure everything's turned off. Blah blah blah. And then we're trying to work it out whilst on the phone, and then all of a sudden it just says plus 10,000 straight back to the wallet, and it was just some glitch. Then I transferred it all across, and then it was fine. And I spoke to him the other day about it, because it's a funny story now that nothing bad happened, but it didn't even cross my mind that I had Bitcoin on me for the whole flight. It's a pretty cool thing, just being able to pack up. I took a picture before we left, and I was like, just took a picture of my suitcase, and I was like, this is my life. But you wouldn't be able to do that if you had to transfer everything else.
No, I mean, there's no way. If you have over like $10,000 cash, you have gold, you're screwed. Like, that would cost you a fortune just to go from the UK to Australia. If you had to switch like 5 pounds of gold, you're screwed.
Yeah.
There's not much you can do at all.
Yeah, we had to go through customs for a small bag of cacao that actually was from Australia. But imagine if that was gold or cash or something like that. There'd have been all sorts of trouble, but there was no questions asked. So it's pretty amazing, man.
No, that's awesome. I have yet to travel across borders with my Bitcoin. I mean, I didn't bring my hardware wallet when I travel, or when I went to Italy or anything. I didn't bring anything, so I just left it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good learning experience, because I had everything set up securely, safely in England, but moving is completely different. So now I guess you could argue that I wasn't set up fully, because if someone raided the house and knew where to look and what to do, then they could access it. But now it's multi-sig. There's 4 people or 4 wallets attached that would have to sign to release any transactions. So I'd say right now is the most secure that I've ever been. And if someone came into my apartment, good luck. Like, there's nothing here. So it's a pretty cool scenario to be in.
Yeah, I mean, you poor Australians, you guys can't have guns really or anything either. So you just kind of have to hand whatever you have over.
Yeah, there's nothing like that here, but we do look over the sea. And when we first got here, me and my partner were playing this game who could reach the sea by throwing some stuff, and I accidentally threw my hardware wallet, and it's in the sea somewhere. So I don't know where that's gone.
There you go. Nice recovery. Dude, so how's this 75 hard been going? I saw when you posted it and I never really followed it, but what explain 75 hard Bitcoin edition to me because I have no idea what you were really talking
Yeah. So to set the scene, I hadn't had a sip of alcohol for 2 years. Um, and for my partner's birthday, we'd got to this point where we almost felt caged in because we'd not drunk for so long. If there was a situation where maybe we wanted to have a glass of wine or celebrate with friends, we felt like we couldn't because we'd got this cage over us of you don't drink anymore. So that had been on her mind a bit. So I thought, let's have a drink for your birthday. But then, me being me, of all or nothing, started drinking again. And then when we got to Australia, the alcohol's so expensive because of tax over here compared to the UK. But I went out, bought a crate of 36 beers to just have over however long. Within a few days, they were gone. And I was like, okay, I probably need to not drink again. Lana's got self control, so she can drink. So then we thought, well, let's reset with a 75-day hard. And then just as we were getting started, I thought, well, why not put a twist on it? I want to start buying Bitcoin on auto buy again now that we're settled. So let's do that. So it's the normal 75-day hard, which is 2 lots of 45-minute exercise a day, 4 liters of water a day, 10 pages of a non-fiction self-development style book a day, no alcohol, no cheat meals, and then a progress picture every day or once a week. So then on top of that, I added a minimum buy of 2,100 sats a day, sharing a Bitcoin thought or education on social media a day. So that's kind of the fundamentals. And then I actually failed last weekend because we went to see Lana's friends that she's not seen for 6 years since she left Australia. So we didn't get 2 sessions in. We ate some bad food um, and didn't drink enough water. So we've reset. But I was just reflecting, I think we're on day 17 or something. And within 17 days, I had 5 people, because I was posting on X and on my Instagram. I had 5 people reach out to me curious at first about Bitcoin and then buying their first Bitcoin. And that was just from sharing a thought a day. So that was pretty cool. And then now we've got a group of Aussies on X, Sean, Izzy, and a few other guys that have kind of jumped on the bandwagon. Some guys had already been doing it. Paul had already been doing it for much longer. So we're starting to get a group of guys together to get fitter, get stronger, get wealthier, share the message, and ultimately the goal is if everyone can get one person to join the 75-day hard, then that creates this snowball effect where more people are doing it, so then more information is getting shared, and then it just keeps going as more people take it on. So that's the idea.
Dang, that's pretty cool. I haven't even, yeah, I've heard of 75-day hard, but just like the little twist. And you already had 5 people join you and just start buying Bitcoin. Did they reach out and they're like, how do I buy Bitcoin or what?
Yeah, so they didn't start the 75-day hard, but they bought Bitcoin, which for me is a win. So none of them showed interest in the 75-day hard, but they all had questions of where should I buy Bitcoin? That naturally leads to, okay, you're buying it, but let's now get it in self-custody because you don't want it on the exchange. And it starts opening people's minds. So I didn't want to just throw random Bitcoin education at people. I wanted more thought provoking stuff of why is everything getting more expensive? Why is money like it is? What's the comparison between house prices? Is buying a house actually a good investment? And these posts are actually the ones that made people reply and ask and be curious, as opposed to me just pumping out all-time high, buy Bitcoin, you're going to be rich. It was the thought-provoking ones that got people interested. And then over on X, where there's more of a Bitcoin community, that's where the Aussies have jumped on the bandwagon, and we're doing that all kind of as a group that are actually doing the 75-day hard, if that makes sense.
So, since you failed, is everyone restarting, or does everyone just keep going, and then you catch up, or you finish later, or what?
Yeah, so everyone starts when they start, and then if you fail, you just start back on day one. So I'm going to start back on day one on Monday. Um, Everyone else just keeps going. So you've got your own 75-day period, and if you break it, you start again. But you just keep going for that 75 days. So it's a group effort in getting the word out and getting involved, but it's an individual effort on actually completing your 75 days, if that makes sense.
Yeah, what were those people when you were like, is it a good idea to buy a house, or like what's going on with inflation? What were people saying? Did you even what were they responding to you?
So the people that wanted to buy Bitcoin were quite direct and just asked, where do I start? But the people that pushed back on my posts were quite interesting. I was I was sharing that I was buying £2.10, which was slightly more than 2,100 sats a day. And I had people replying saying, yeah, but what's this going to do for you? That's not going to help. I had I did a question poll on one of my stories where it was like ask any questions that you've got if you've got them about Bitcoin to try and spark some conversation. And I had people going, since when were you a financial advisor? Or are you, is this financial advice no shame just looking out for you? And I replied publicly to them. I was like, I'm quite open that I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm not sure when posting someone else's content on my story made me a financial advisor. So it's interesting, man, because you see people try and defend what they know by um, projecting onto you that you're in the wrong. I had another guy, yeah, saying, "What's £2.10 going to do to you? That's not going to help people. What kind of message is this?" That conversation then led on to kind of I was talking more about the fundamentals, and he was like, "Yeah, but there's assets that I can't sell," and I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And he was like, well, a house and a car. And I was like, I'm not telling you to sell them, but you can sell them if you want to. Like, you're not tied to a house or you're not tied to a car. You could downgrade your car and drive a trash car like I did for the last 2 years to stack as much as you can. But that's why it all comes back to the fundamentals for me, because when you start understanding the fundamentals, those kind of viewpoints start changing pretty quickly. When I really got it and it clicked, I got rid of everything that I could.
Yeah, and I think that's an awesome thing to just develop as a habit. It's kind of like, did you see my post the other day? I think that was yesterday, from Jeff Booth's book, The Price of Tomorrow. And it was like,
Great book.
your thoughts, yeah, your thoughts create how you talk, creates action. Action creates habits, and habits create your character. So just starting off with like 75-day hard, and you're just buying, even if it's $2 a day, it adds up over time. Who cares if it's life changing? Developing a habit of getting used to putting your fiat dollars into a better money system. And that's essentially what you were, trying to say.
Yeah, and for people that aren't aware of Bitcoin or are starting to wake up, setting an auto buy of £2.10 a day is much easier to just get in the game than to go, I'm going to sell my house and port all of this into Bitcoin. So it's just the small habits. Once you're in the game, you can then start learning more, going down the rabbit holes that you and I have gone down. And that's where the conviction starts building. And then those things might start popping into their heads. But if they just get in the game and they start seeing how the world works, what money is, why hard money is going to create a better world, they're in the game then and they can and start their journey.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Especially if you're younger. I mean, because a lot of older people are so stuck in their ways. I'm like that in a lot of my ways. I'm like the grumpy old man. I'm stuck in my own way. But if you can get a younger generation, Gen X, if you can get them to start buying at a young age, and then they're like, maybe I don't need a $500,000 house, and then they don't have to worry about selling a house to buy, stack sats. I mean, if there's ever a question of, do I buy a house or do I buy a Bitcoin? I mean, I know my answer these days. I bought a house. I've bought in 3 houses in my lifetime so far. But man, if I had bought in Bitcoin for the the amount that I bought my first house, I would be a lot better off right about now. I can tell you that.
You wouldn't be here. Yeah, and that's another one that's interesting, and we won't touch on it for too long. But a while ago, I posted something on my story comparing Bitcoin prices to housing prices and stuff, and I had someone I used to go to school with that's now a mortgage broker or mortgage advisor reach out and was like, "Stop posting this. I'm going to be out of the job." Which for me, I'd never thought of that way, but it's so interesting because people will be out of the job. Like Jeff Booth's The Price of Tomorrow, these jobs with AI and with Bitcoin aren't going to be a thing in the future. Um, but I also think, to your point, that people, Gen Z, Gen X, people my kind of age, are actually in such a powerful position if they get it, because a lot of people are taught go to school, get a job, save for a house, buy a house, pay off your mortgage, and work your way up the career ladder. People at my age are probably, if they're following that, at a point where they've got decent jobs, decent cash flow, and probably either paying cheap rent somewhere or living at home still. A lot of living at home. So they can save. So they're saving up for this deposit. So they've got capital to deploy to Bitcoin right now. And I don't think there's a better risk adjusted time to buy Bitcoin right now. So if they can start flicking that switch in their head to really understand Bitcoin, really understand money, assets, this kind of thing, they've actually got some capital to deploy that's free because they've probably just got it in a savings account at the moment that's burning. But they've got access to it and they could just deploy to Bitcoin. So I think that age bracket's probably the one of the best places because they're not as stuck in their ways. They're open to ideas. They probably are experiencing, like I did, like, how am I going to buy a house? Do I want to buy a house? And then they've got some money saved up or fiat saved up that they could deploy.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, because once you're stuck in your ways, it's a lot harder to change. And unfortunately, there's so much social pressure, especially with social media these days. So I mean, to get out of line and not follow your peers in the same rabbit hole. Get good grades. Okay, that's good. Do that, kids. But get good grades. Go to college. Graduate. Get a job you hate. Pay off your $100,000 loan and work for the rest of your life until you're 65, and then you get to enjoy the last 15 years of your life and die. And for some reason, stepping outside of that line is a no-no. They tell you not to do it, and I don't understand why. And I think that's maybe changing. Maybe it's because I'm in the Bitcoin bubble so much that that's all I think about and that's all I, talk about. But maybe other people are starting to realize, hey, college isn't, worth the expense. I don't need to be dropping $100,000 to get a gender ideology or emotional feeling, whatever type bullshit job you have. Like, you don't need that. Like, go to college if you're gonna become a doctor, a lawyer. We all know that you have to go to college for that. Learn that stuff if you're gonna do that. If you'll be way better off if you just go to a trade school, learn how to be a plumber, earn 6 figures right out of high school. I mean, you might be an apprentice for 6 months or a year, and then you'll start earning 6 figures, and all of a sudden you have all this money. And if you're putting that into Bitcoin that appreciates at about 50% a year, by the time your friends are out of college in debt, you'll be sitting there on a stockpile of Bitcoin and you'll have the option, hey, I kind of want to buy a house, but guess what? I have the money to, and you people don't. And you already have a good job. This whole system is completely broken. And I think the younger generation is starting to notice that. It's coming around. And I think Bitcoin will eventually be one of those things where people are like, what do you do with your money? Instead of going to buy that nice BMW and buy the nice house and go out to eat and spend $100 on a steak at dinner, people are going to start thinking about where they're putting their money especially if prices keep going up. And we all know houses are unaffordable right now anyway for most people. I have no idea what housing is like in Australia, but I can't imagine it's any better than the United States. I don't know.
No, it's not good.
What's housing
There's
like
a
over there, dude?
Yeah, it's expensive. In fiat terms, that is, because if you measure it in Bitcoin, it's getting cheaper and cheaper. Um, but yeah, it's expensive. Rent's expensive. They're trying to push new taxing people on empty rooms in their house and stuff like this. So it's crazy. Yeah,
Dude, they're trying to
you
say if you have an empty that you can get taxed on it, or you can have some random person just living in your house that you bought.
Yeah, they're trying to push into law now the empty room tax. Who knows how they're going to enforce it? But if you've got, for every empty room you've got in your house, bedroom, you have to pay tax. I think the rent equivalent for what it would be to rent that room out. That's what they're trying to push, which is absolute criminal, in my opinion. But that's just the start of things to come. So yeah, I think to your point earlier on people waking up, I think the internet's had a massive impact on that. I was thinking about this the other day that people my age, even 20 years ago, didn't have access to this kind of knowledge, and everything was just propaganda controlled by the powers that be. The internet now, to an extent, has allowed people to speak what's actually going on in the world, and unless you're completely under a rock, there's only a certain amount of times you can see the same information and not start to think, maybe what I've been told isn't correct. Maybe there is some other way. And maybe I don't need to spend 100,000 to go to uni to get some education. Maybe I could pay a fraction of that, or even free. Like YouTube's probably a better source than a lot of university degrees. But maybe I could find someone that actually lives the lifestyle I want, pick their brains and their knowledge, and then do the same thing. Now, obviously, there's a lot of noise in the online space, but one of the best lessons that I learned was find someone that has and does what you want, learn from them, and do exactly what they say. Because why would you go to university to learn course material that's been designed years and years and years and years ago and is taught by people who live on site at the university miserable? I'm not saying that's all lecturers, don't get me wrong. And they're operating from the best place, but that's all they know as well. They're fully ingrained in the system.
Yes, I mean that's also where Bitcoin community kind of comes along, sharing your 75-day hard. Like even though we don't have huge communities right now, but Bitcoin in a whole is a massive community, and so you're like sharing your own little. And then, okay, 5 people come in, and then 10, and then they tell someone, and then it keeps growing and growing. And then I mean, eventually, I think Bitcoiners get to a point where it's almost like it's a lifestyle change. It changes your mind completely, and you no longer, desire those the fiat things. The Lambo, even though okay, maybe I want one, but I won't probably ever buy one. I mean, you start to realize that once you have the wealth and you realize what you own, you have no desire for those things anymore. I don't. It completely changed my mind.
Yeah, there is a very, very nice looking Bitcoin orange Lambo that's driven around where I'm living at the moment that I have my eyes on. But I'm with you, man. The I think you chase in your mind these materialistic things to almost keep you motivated to keep working until you find Bitcoin, because what is there to look forward to? Your fiat is almost better off spent in experiences because it's just losing value every year. So you may as well just spend everything you've got if you're saving in fiat. Bitcoin changes how you think about so many things. I know you've talked about it in terms of becoming healthier. That links in with the 75-day hard. The other thing for me, like the small daily buys, they might seem like nothing at the moment, but if we start measuring the world in Bitcoin terms, those small 1,000 sats, 2,000 sats a day is going to be a significant chunk of the future, even though right now it feels like nothing. I think I'm still trying to get my head around it. A lot of people don't get it at all, but if you start measuring things in Bitcoin, those small sats that you're stacking build up. And I don't think it's too far in the future when we start seeing things turn pretty crazy.
People really underestimate the power of those small stacks. I mean, just imagine if one sat cost $1. I don't even know what the price of Bitcoin would be at that point, but I mean, if one sat, I'm not going to do the math, but either way,
I think
that
I think I saw somewhere it's $10 million per Bitcoin is one sat is $1.
okay, yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, I honestly don't think that's too far away. I had someone else on the other day, and they were like, "Yeah, I was buying $5 worth of coffee a day, and instead of buying my $5 coffee, I did a $5 Bitcoin buy. That $5 Bitcoin buy every day could turn into a $500, investment, and I don't think that's too far away. I think it's going to come quicker than people think, and every sat starts to count, and that's when you start to really think, do I need that? Do I need the expensive thing? Because every dollar that I spend could become $100. I mean, it gets kind of crazy, and it makes you not want to spend your money on worthless crap. And then, so then all of a sudden your whole lifestyle changes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've almost gone the other way, which is a challenge in itself, where I will second guess everything I spend because I'm like, do I need this? And for me, I have a rule where I won't sell my Bitcoin. So I will put everything that I don't need for the month into Bitcoin. And soon my goal is potentially to just fully move on to a Bitcoin standard. I'm just trying to work out how that works because I'm still set up in the UK and stuff. But for me, at the moment, I'll pour everything into Bitcoin that I don't need. Then, when I get an urge, because I used to get them all the time, to go out and buy something, go out and buy some rugby boots, or go out and go for a trip away, I then have to think because I don't have that money because it's in Bitcoin. And then by the time that wait 2 days because I can't get the money, that urge has gone. Whereas previously, I would have just bought that thing and had to run with it. But now Bitcoin has helped, but is also to the point now where I have to really think if I want to buy something. And I was listening to a podcast the other day. It's like it makes you really think if what you're buying or what you're looking to buy is actually of value, because you don't want to change your Bitcoin for something that's not valuable. Whereas for fiat, you can do it much easier.
Yeah. And just like you said, though, every time I buy Bitcoin, this is going to be for my kids or my grandkids, essentially. I mean, there's no way that I would want to sell it. First of all, what do you sell Bitcoin for? I don't know. I mean, I don't mind if people spend it. If you want to go buy a steak and shake or whatever it's called, if you want to, I spent 40,000 sats or something on the little Satoshi guy back there. I'll spend sats, but I'll replenish it right away because I want those sats back. I mean, I would much rather do that than, I mean, there's just no way that I want to spend my sats, and there's no way that I would want to give that up. That's my life raft. We all know, inflation is getting absolutely out of hand. Every time you go to the grocery store, you see it. It's crazy, and I haven't even traveled recently, so I don't even know what it's like in the UK or Australia. I mean, I can guess based off the news, but we all know that's a lie.
Yeah, it's the same, man. It's extortionate. But again, I was listening to Sean's podcast from Good Day Bitcoin, and he was like, my stakes are $300 a week. Now that's about 150 US dollars, but still, it's a lot. But he says, but my stakes are getting cheaper every month in Bitcoin. So it depends what you're using as the measuring stick, and it's super interesting. If you start, you see, yeah,
Once you start using Bitcoin as the measuring stick, everything gets cheaper. Look at every asset class compared to Bitcoin, and everything gets cheaper. So there's no point in selling because then you're just going to be holding a different asset. That's what drives me. I mean, number go up is great, but I think even though everyone that's buying Bitcoin, eventually we're all getting richer, which is awesome. But I think the biggest thing with Bitcoin is your mentality. And I've said that before on this podcast, how it changes, like you said, your fitness, your community, things like that. But honestly, it's a way for people to escape, the rabbit hole that they're going down. It's dumb. Everyone is stuck and everyone feels stuck. And you can almost feel a tension in society of people not finding a way to escape that rat race. And I think Bitcoin is your life raft. We all see where it's headed, and we sound like the crazy ones right now. You're talking to your friends, your normie friends, and we seem like the absolute crazy people. And we're like, hey man, this Bitcoin thing, they're like, oh, it's $100,000. No, this Bitcoin thing, they're like, did you catch the game yesterday? Hey man, this Bitcoin thing. And they just don't freaking get it, and it pisses me off. And then I seem like the crazy person to all my friends. And then 5 years later, I'm like, that it goes up 10x in price, and they're like, hey, do you still have your Bitcoin? Of course I have my Bitcoin. I've been buying this entire time. Oh, where do you buy? Do you recommend this coin instead? It's like, hey, dude, I've been trying to tell you for 5 freaking years to buy some Bitcoin. Why don't you listen? Because eventually it's going to be worth a hell of a lot more. And I know it seems expensive now. It's always going to be expensive. It always feels like that. It felt like that when I first started buying, and it's going to only get worse from here. It's $100,000. It's going to $1 million. It will go to 10 million. I have no doubt. It's just a matter of time. The money printer is being wound up right now. It's absolutely insane. They're getting ready to print. We've been saying it ever since COVID. I think that's all they can do. There's no way out of it for them. Sorry, that was a little rant.
No, I like it. I like it a lot. And I've stopped talking about price if people reach out to me or I'm having a conversation with people that aren't in Bitcoin. I stopped talking about price, because if they buy because of price, although it's a good attention grab, they're going to sell if it dips or if it goes to the moon. So I've just started saying, like, Bitcoin will be the global currency of the world, or the global currency of the world will be pegged to Bitcoin. I'm not selling ever unless it becomes a currency that I can spend it in. This might change if I fully adopt a Bitcoin standard. I'm trying to work out the steps for that right now, but I've stopped. The more that I talk to people and watch and indulge the Bitcoin world, yes, number go up is a great attention metric, but it's about so much more than number go up. And I think for some people getting in, that number go up thing actually holds them back. It grabs their attention, but it holds them back because they think they've missed the boat, or they see a cheaper coin. I've had that twice in the last week. It's like, what are your thoughts on this? And I said, no, I just buy Bitcoin and I'm never selling. And he was like, yeah, but you've got to be diversified, man. And I'm like, no. If I was to be diversified, I can think of a few things that I'd diversify into, as opposed to some of these shit coins that are out there.
Yeah, dude, what does a world look like if let's play a hypothetical here. What does a world look like on a, hyper-Bitcoinization? Everyone's living on Bitcoin. You're earning Bitcoin. You're spending Bitcoin. I've been trying to think about it because, okay, if everyone is earning Bitcoin, everyone has to spend Bitcoin, but no one wants to spend their Bitcoin because their Bitcoin keeps going up because it's deflationary, not inflationary. I've been trying to think of what a hyper-Bitcoinization world looks like.
Well, I first got introduced to that thought by Jeff Booth's video that he did with Simply Bitcoin. But my conclusion, it was quite overwhelming to think about the world in that way, because it's so paradigm shifting to what we know. But the world can only get better, because as soon as people start transacting and saving in hard money that increases in value, they're not going to change. They're not going to buy things that aren't valuable to them. So what does that mean? People are much more picky with what they spend. So they're not just pumping the economy because they just buy everything. But what does that mean for the world? People are going to stop making low value things and shift all their focus into high value things that people do want to buy to enhance their life. So if you combine those two things, the world can only get better and better, because people only want to then buy high value things. They're not going to buy the rubbish from China, the cheap crap. They're going to want good, high quality material. And what that's going to do for the world, similar to Jeff Booth's book, is AI is deflationary, technology is deflationary. Everything should get cheaper and speed up the quality of things. So I said to someone the other day, like, we'll see hovercrafts or some kind of transportation method soon where you can just like float around. I think in the next 20, 30 years, the world's going to be a sick place. But to get to that point, there's going to be bumps, because the way that the world is built at the moment and the foundation it's built upon don't work with the Bitcoin standard. So there's going to have to be a hell of a lot of change for that world to happen. But everything good isn't easy. Otherwise, it wouldn't be worth having.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. What was that?
No, sorry, it's fine. I was just saying everything worth having doesn't come easy. So it's going to be a tough ride to some of these changes that need to happen. But to summarize that kind of waffle, I always say to people, like, one day you're going to be working and paid in Bitcoin or in a currency that's pegged to Bitcoin. Right now, you can sell your fiat and acquire Bitcoin that you're going to one day work for at a fraction of the value that it will be when that happens. So you can basically just buy your freedom right now. That's how I look at it. Because your time is the most valuable asset in the world. You can't make more of it right now. You might be able to in the future, but right now you can't. So you can buy your time back by buying Bitcoin. It's so simple that most people think it's not possible.
And I think that one of the coolest things is, if we do, or not if, but when we get to that hyper-Bitcoinization world, is governments won't be able to print their own damn currency for wars. I know it's going to be kind of bloody to get there, and it's not going to be a simple path. There is no, yellow brick road to Bitcoin, standard per se, because people that don't own Bitcoin are going to hate the people that own Bitcoin. The people that own a little bit of Bitcoin are going to hate the people that own a lot of bit of Bitcoin. And the governments are going to suffer because their job is gone. Because the only reason why they have jobs is because, first of all, they're high paying, and that's only because they're close to the money printer. And somehow, 50% of Congress is a multimillionaire on a $100,000 salary. So make that make sense. And so those jobs are gone. And the whole world is going to have to shift to, first of all, you need your self-sovereignty. You have to be able to take care of yourself and stop looking to others, such as the almighty, your Lord and Savior, the government, to come give you a freaking check or pay your medical bills, because we all know we don't have freaking capitalism, at least in America, when it comes to healthcare. It's not a capitalist medical system. It's all government ran. And everything has to be approved by government. There's like 5,000 steps that, they have to go through, and everything will have to change. And that's going to be a very painful process for most people. For people that happen to buy Bitcoin now, who are putting $2 in a day, it's going to be pretty nice. It's going to be a nice world to live in. And unfortunately, a lot of people are going to have to suffer through a transfer of wealth from fiat dollars to a Bitcoin standard. And the end goal is going to be a beautiful thing, but the rough patches along the way, I can tell you, I don't think are going to be very pretty. And I think there will be wars over it. And unfortunately, I do think Bitcoin wins in the end, because all they can do is print more money to pay for wars, which causes more inflation, which makes their currency worth less, which makes everyone hate them more, because now they're working for less money, and all the Bitcoiners are going to be sitting over there like, hey, bro, why didn't you just buy some? I don't know.
Yeah. And how about this for a thought that just came in while you were saying about war and stuff, is what if game theory plays out that, let's say, the US announces they're going for their 1 million Bitcoin in the next 5 years? What if that triggers all the countries to print, to buy as much Bitcoin as possible, but then they would rather print to buy Bitcoin than print to fund the wars.
I
I
mean,
don't know if
that's
that would
fine.
happen, but that's another possibility where Bitcoin is the peace coin, where it is violence isn't needed in a world where money isn't broken.
Yeah, a lot will change when the money's broken, the incentives are all wrong. People do things for the wrong reason because the incentive is messed up. If your incentive is, let's just take healthcare, if your incentive is to keep someone sick so they have to come back to the doctor to pay you another $100, and then so you give them a subscription for a pill. They take the pill, then there's side effects, so they have to come back to the doctor. I mean, the incentives are all messed up. There's no incentive to live a good life, to be healthy, to thrive, and that will all change. But Bitcoin's going to have to be the front runner in that, because as of right now, I don't see any other options.
Yeah. Yeah, and to the flip side, I saw something yesterday, I think, that was saying Bitcoin's going to increase the wealth gap rather than distribute it. I'm not sure what to think to this, but as long as people hold and don't sell their Bitcoin to institutions and governments, that some will, but I know that I would rather the top of the pile be Bitcoiners from the last 15 years that have front run the government and institutions and have the power, which I don't think there won't be this abuse of power from a lot of the Bitcoiners. I don't know where I'm going with that point, but I think
Well,
everything just
that made me think of something because, okay, so yeah, the government, if they buy Bitcoin, but then, okay, let's think about MSTR, MicroStrategy. They own over 600,000 Bitcoin. They're doing it publicly. Bitcoiners don't want people to get left behind. That's why we try to do what we do. That's why we try to tell everyone we can, because we see the light, they don't. So we try to help them. We try to bring them along. And people like Michael Saylor are doing it publicly. He's telling other businesses and other nation states, look at me, follow me. I'm opening a playbook for you. Why don't you follow along? And so Bitcoiners are the type of people that don't want people to get left behind. We all want to succeed together. We don't want there to be a massive, higher upper class and the no coiners. We want everyone to have as much Bitcoin as possible. Obviously, the sooner you start buying, the more you'll have, and the more consistently you buy, the more. But we're doing it pretty public. It's not like we're keeping Bitcoin a secret.
yeah. Yeah. And what a time to get involved. I think that's what non-Bitcoiners can't get their head around, but Bitcoiners get frustrated with is like, we want to help you front run where the world is going. Like, you just want to grab people and shake them and be like, just see what I'm seeing. It's frustrating but you're right. The Bitcoiners are transparent. The majority have good intentions, um, and I think it is the answer for a healthier, less violent, more prosperous future, which I don't think's far away, man. But like you said, it's going to be a bumpy ride to get there for sure, and I have no idea what that will look like.
Hey, speaking of MSTR, sorry, I'm gonna shift gears on you after that little rant, but I heard this thing that I thought was kind of funny. It was like the only reason why Bitcoiners are buying MSTR is because this bull cycle is like, or this Bitcoin cycle is, we're not getting like the dopamine hits like we normally get, like, the 100x in 6 months type thing. And we're like, oh my gosh, MSTR is doing it. But what are your thoughts on treasury companies these days, on Bitcoin treasury companies? Because it's the new thing. Everyone is talking about them. Companies are buying Bitcoin. I don't know if they're buying Bitcoin just to say they have Bitcoin to pump their stock price. I don't know if companies are buying Bitcoin because they actually believe in it. I I'm at like a loss of what to say for this cycle because I didn't see any of this coming. Like institutions, of course, but like it feels off. It feels weird. I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah. it's uncharted territory for sure, but it's the new alt season, so that even more so now when people are coming into the space and they start asking about other coins, they've got even less chance than normal to catch a pump on a coin because most of the capital's flowing into these treasury companies. I think Sailor's obviously got first mover advantage. He's done everything publicly. They're learning on the go, but they're owning it, and they are creating vehicles to capture hidden or locked up capital that otherwise wouldn't be able to get Bitcoin exposure and flooding it in. So I think fundamentally they're speeding up the Bitcoin adoption process. Ultimately, I had a good conversation with someone the other day. Bitcoin's for everyone. So we can't say that and then at the same time say these companies shouldn't be buying it. These governments shouldn't be buying it. If Bitcoin's going to be the currency of the world, it's for everyone. So, and you could argue, I wouldn't, but people could argue that these treasury companies are taking a risk on buying so much Bitcoin. So they deserve it. They're being forward thinkers. They're buying Bitcoin, but the end goal is Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is the future currency of the world and you've got $1 million of MSTR stock, what if you can't buy Bitcoin at that moment? What's the point? So I like them. I see the value of what they're doing on the side of a company, but if you are wanting self sovereignty, you stop really worrying about the price of Bitcoin and the fiat gains that it brings. That's a bonus, obviously, but the goal is how much Bitcoin do I own, not how much fiat equivalent does this account for. So it's a distraction. It's, like you said, a way to get a dopamine hit. I was extremely lucky that my on ramp into the Bitcoin world really laid out the fundamentals and started off by arguing the case that altcoins or shitcoins aren't the way in. So I never got distracted by that. But because I had that foundation, that's how I now see treasury companies. And that's not to say what the treasury companies are doing is bad. I don't think it's bad or good. I have no real opinion on that. I just know that I, as a self sovereign individual looking into the future, want Bitcoin. I don't want a stock, which is ultimately what you're buying in a treasury company. Because who knows what the next 5 to 10 years are going to look like? You could be a millionaire in cash, but what if that equates to nothing? What if you need to get out of your country and take your family somewhere? That money that's locked up in a stock is not going to help you. Bitcoin will help you in that situation.
The main way that I would be buying MSTR or the ETFs is mainly in like retirement accounts that can't access Bitcoin directly. And I think that's a really smart play. Not financial advice, obviously, but I mean, putting a 401k or any type of Roth or something like that into an ETF that's tethered to Bitcoin or an MSTR. I mean, hopefully MSTR makes it into the S&P 500 here soon because then everyone will benefit from Bitcoin whether they know it or not. But I mean, I can say the use case for that is pretty cool, and I'm glad it's there. And like you said, Bitcoin's for everyone. It's for your enemies too, and so we have to accept that.
Yeah, 100%. And the way that the world's designed is people have money locked up in retirement accounts that they can't access, and most people aren't don't know what their retirement accounts are invested into, and the success of your retirement account is directly related to fiat. So if you can't do anything with that money, that currency, or whatever's in your retirement, your goal, your priority is for that number to go up as much as possible. So if that's all you can do, you want to put it in the best performing assets, which is Bitcoin, but you can't do that directly. So ETFs, MSTR makes sense. And these guys, Sailor that's engineering these products is so smart because he knows that there's this locked money that their only way in to a Bitcoin world is through their products or an ETF. So yeah, absolutely, I agree with you. I don't think they're good or bad. I think some guys are smart and know exactly what they're doing. and ultimately it speeds up Bitcoin adoption. And every day that I learn something new makes me contemplate 4-year cycles more and more, because if Saylor's buying more than the daily Bitcoin that's mined on his own, it's just maths at that point. I'm torn, man. I'm so torn.
I mean, this is also a cycle that we've seen whales selling at astronomical amounts. The fact that there is piles and piles of whales selling, upwards of 80,000 Bitcoin, and we're still sitting at over 100K is pretty cool. And so, yeah, I'm completely broken on like the whole cycle thing. I'm so used to we run up and then we crash and then we run up. I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm working at McDonald's type meme, and we're just going on this roller coaster. And now, institutions have come in and Wall Street's come in, and I'm like, dude, I used to just listen to Bitcoin podcasts to get all my financial education. But now I'm like, I don't even know what Bitcoin's doing because Wall Street's doing stuff. And I'm like, what are they trading? Are they just manipulating the market? I have no idea. Are they selling just to crash the price so BlackRock can get in? Or I mean, that's a rumor going around. I'm like, I have no idea what these cycles are doing. so so instead of stress about it, I'll sit there and I'll shit post and I'll buy as much Bitcoin as I can with all the free cash I have. And then I'll speculate day to day. And then when Bitcoin reaches 190K in October, then I'll be right. And then I'll be happy.
Yeah, it's almost not worth speculating about, man. We're so close now to knowing whether this time is different or not that there's no point speculating and trying to be right. We're not too many months away from knowing if this time is different. But like on that point, and I'm not making any decisions. I just watch stuff and find the perspectives really interesting. But I saw something yesterday that said the profit taking has been happening for the last 6 to 8 months. You see that with these big whales selling off, taking profits, yet we're still climbing sideways and upwards. So once the profit taking people, once they've sold or taken profit, they've only got so much Bitcoin, right? Or so much that they want to take profit of. So once this is just gobbled up by the institutions, by governments, countries that you're seeing, the ETF, once all of this profit taking has been accumulated, which it is, we can see it. It's just open data. And then they keep buying and there's not sellers. Then what happens? If you look at the numbers that are being bought up each day that massively outweigh the Bitcoin that's being produced each day, the math doesn't math to say that we're going down. And on top of that, I was watching a video yesterday about from Bo Hines, who was inside the government, and he's now just resigned and started with Tether or someone. He's now being much more open that he couldn't say stuff when he was working for the government or in the White House. And he was pretty confident with his words that the US will pass the Bitcoin Act and start acquiring towards their 200,000 before the end of 2025. So within the next 4 months, he thinks that's going to be approved. So if that is added on top of all of these buyers coming in and accumulating all the Bitcoin that's available, mathematically, how does Bitcoin go down? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, you can't, and it's only three cycles of data to go by, and it's a really interesting topic. I just like to sit back, take in information from both sides, and then make absolutely no decision based off that. I just like to listen to different people's perspectives because we're only 3 months away from knowing. And if it crashes, I can buy more Bitcoin. If it keeps going up, my wealth keeps going up. Like, it's a win-win. There's no point me stressing myself over what's going to happen, because I'm not going to sell. I'm just going to buy more either way.
Yeah, we just got to remember to stay humble, because I feel like eventually it's going to get up there and it's going to be hard to stay humble. You got to stay humble and stack sats.
Yeah, and I think as long as... Sorry, you go, man, you go. I didn't have anything to say.
MSTY. I was going to ask you about MSTY and how because I still hold it and I'm using that as a way to constantly get money per month. I use it to pay bills at the moment. I would be using it to buy more Bitcoin. But what are your thoughts on MSTY right now? Because I don't think we've ever really seen a product like this.
Yeah. When I first saw it, my first instinct was this is too good to be true, just like Bitcoin when I first saw Bitcoin. So I started looking into it. British Hodl, in my opinion, did a great job at breaking it down into understandable segments. And from my understanding, these products have been available to the elite or to the super wealthy that had people doing it for them privately. But these types of products are new to the public. So for me, that was a big confidence booster that it's not just this magical new thing that's coming up, it's just been publicly available. And then when you start looking into the actual mechanics of how it works, I wouldn't be trusting, I'm sure the Yield Max team are doing a great job with these other income funds. I don't even look at them because I've done so much research into Bitcoin that I'm so convicted on Bitcoin, and MSTR's business mission is to buy as much Bitcoin as possible. As long as Bitcoin remains somewhat volatile, so MSTR's implied volatility remains high, MSTY is just going to feed off that. So to me, it makes sense. Now, last week I did watch an MSTR True North video that made me realize MSTR is much, much more complex than just buying Bitcoin. But if anything, that's going to just keep the volatility high because they're trying to work things out as they go, Sailor and the team. Bitcoin's volatile anyway. Coupled those two together of kind of working things out as you go, plus volatility equals more volatility. So with Bitcoin going up over a long time horizon and volatility remaining there, it's for me, it's a no-brainer for those looking for income. Now, for those not looking for income, whether they're happy with their job, they've got a successful business, then maybe it does make just more sense to just buy Bitcoin because you don't need the income. I think that's where a lot of people and a lot of the FUD comes in is people are comparing MSTY to MSTR to Bitcoin, but they're like British Hodl says, they're in different investment brackets. Bitcoin is your savings, MSTR is your growth or your speculation, MSTY is your income. They serve three very different purposes, and different people are going to have different needs. But for those that need or want income, in my opinion, it's an amazing tool to have.
No, I don't mind holding it. I mean, I'm either way on it. For me, it's a nice way for the income. But yeah, if you have a nice job, you have income coming in, just buy the Bitcoin and don't even worry about MSTY. Just like you said, I mean, MSTR is more of your, it's a leveraged play. It's a leveraged Bitcoin play, and you're hoping it goes up more than Bitcoin, because if it doesn't go up more than Bitcoin, then why would you even buy it? Might as well just buy the Bitcoin at that point. There's no point in holding MSTR if it's gonna go sideways in comparison to Bitcoin. So that's where I'm at with the whole thing. I enjoy it, man. But I enjoy buying. I don't hold much MSTR. I think I've said this before. I'm still like 93% allocated into Bitcoin, and so I just have a small stack of MSTY and a little bit of MSTR. But I mean, I think most people are that way, that are Bitcoiners. Other people, I think, are could be down to like 60-70% allocation to Bitcoin and 20-30% MSTR type thing. Then that's completely. I don't have anything to say about that. I mean, people do what they want, but for me, unless MSTR doesn't outperform Bitcoin, I don't see a purpose in buying it personally.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it ties back to vision, timing, what people want with their lives. Someone that is not exposed to Bitcoin or just getting exposed, I would be working 80 hours a week and buying as much Bitcoin as possible. People that have got significant exposure to Bitcoin and believe in Bitcoin are probably thinking, yeah, I could get more Bitcoin, but like I'm probably good with where I'm at, but they still need cash flow. For those people, MSTY is amazing because you can just roughly work out how much money you need, how much currency, fiat you need to live your life to whatever level you want. And you can design your lifestyle around that. And MSTR allows that without selling your Bitcoin. And you don't need to work like crazy because you've done the work. You've done the proof of work years ago acquiring Bitcoin. So it's your reward. Whereas if you're not in Bitcoin, you need to get it. Can I just run to the toilet real quick? Sorry, man. All I heard was ending as I was running to the toilet. I just drank a whole bottle of water and it was not feeling good.
No, I was about to be like, no, I think that's a great place to end it. You know, just because I mean, I think we could follow up in 4 to 6 months and talk about these three, MSTR, MSTY, and Bitcoin. And I think that'd be a lot of fun to follow up in a couple months and talk about where it's gone, what's happened, and see if anything that we've talked about has either come true or how things are developing. I think that'd be fun to do.
For sure, man. It's going to be an exciting few months, regardless of what happens, because it's going to be exciting if you see a normal cycle, and it's, in my opinion, going to be even more exciting if you see a non-normal cycle. So there's going to be lots to catch up on and lots to talk about.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you.